Hello, welcome to this series. I am Todo Frank. In this class, we want to learn everything we need to know about VLOOKUP. Okay, so let's get this done practically. So now I want to actually create two columns right here at the right hand side. All right, maybe I create the first column here, and I want to call this. Let me shift a little and leave where we have this. I want to call this employee ID, and then I call this net pay. Then I want situation whereby if I put any employee ID on this box, I want the net pay of that particular employee to appear right here on this other box. So how are we going to do this? I have to type in a formula into this box. But first, I have to consider few things. The first thing I have to consider is the address of this cell. The address of this particular cell that the cell pointer is pointing now, this particular cell. The address of this cell is what? Let me paint the cell so you understand what I mean. The address of this particular cell I'm painting now with yellow is cell N4. So I have to know that this cell is cell N4. Secondly, I have to count the number of columns we have from the employee ID down to net pay. So if you count here, we have the column A, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 columns. Remember, first, the address of this particular place that I will be supplying the employee ID to see their net pay is cell N4. And the number of columns between employee ID column and net pay column is 10. Those are two things we need to consider. And then the next thing we have to consider is where we have the data range. We have the data range from where we have the employee ID of the first user, which is where, which is A4. This cell is called cell A4, as you can see on the cell address bar here. This cell is cell A4, which is located at column A, row number 4. And where we have the last value of data is this particular last cell. And this cell is what? This cell is L13. Okay, but we're not reaching here. We are stopping at where we have the last net pay. That is where our search will be involved. So where our search will be limited to. Our search will be limited to where I'm just highlighted right now. So where I highlight right now is, it starts from the first employee ID, which is 1001, and the search will end at the last employee net pay, which is where I have 31,686. So that is the range that we are going to search for the data. All right, so now I have known those three things. Number one, the range of the search. Number two, I have known the address of where I'm going to supply the employee ID. And then thirdly, I have also known the number of columns between the employee ID column and the net pay column. So now I can type my formula properly. So I click here to type the formula, because the formula must be typed where you want the answer to appear. Having clicked here, I can come up here and type the formula, or type here. It will still appear here on the formula bar. So I type equal to, then I type VLOOKUP. This VLOOKUP can be either uppercase or lowercase. It means the same thing. Then I open bracket. When I open bracket, first thing I will put is the address of this cell, which we check, and it was what? It was cell N4. So I place comma. I would like to move this column here so you can see well. Okay, I wish you can see better. Then I say equal to VLOOKUP. I open bracket. The first thing I put in the cell is N4. The second thing I'm going to put in the cell is the range. We started from where? It started from A4 and then ended at J33. All right, note that N4 is actually where I have the first value. Remember, where I have this first value of the employee ID. And then J33 is where I have the last value of the employee net pay right here. That's J33, where my cell pointer is located right now. So that is why I'm using A4 and J. And note that I separate them with a colon, not semicolon, a full colon. Then I will go ahead and put comma here. When I place comma here, then I put the number of columns between the employee ID column and the net pay column, which is 10 as we counted. Then I place comma, then I simply type the word false. So if you check out my formula, it's very simple. I have VLOOKUP. I said equal to, the equal sign must be there, equal to VLOOKUP. Then I open bracket, I type N4, which is the address of where I'm going to be supplying the employee ID in order to see the net pay value. Okay. Then I now type the range that I want the search to take place, which is A4 to J33. Then I type the number of columns involved in the search, which is 10, and then I simply close the statement with false. Then I will close everything with the bracket that I open. Then at this point, I can just press enter key on my keyboard. Now the answer that appears here is NA, which means not applicable, but it's not an error. It is appearing like this because there's nothing inside this box. Let's start with the ones we can see right here. The employee ID of the first person is 1001 and the net pay of the person is 442,600. Now let's try by supplying the employee ID of the first person, which is then is done, and see if we are going to have 442,600 as the net pay. So I come here and I type 1001 and I just move out and the answer appears here correctly. What if I'm looking for someone down? Like let's say we want to look for Ramson really, which is the 1010. That's the net, the employee ID is 1010 and the net pay is 98,100. So just come here, I change this value to 1010. Once I leave, the net pay appears correctly. So using something like this in a range of data where you have up to 1,000 employees or maybe 800 employees, instead of you turning around by scrolling up and down, you don't need to scroll up and down. You can stand one place like this and find out the information you want using using the VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel. So I think I've been able to explain what VLOOKUP is, though I am still going to try another example in the next video. God bless you. I am Tudor Frank and see you in the next video.